This is the Adventure Bound Podcast, Episode 0. Hello, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Adventure Bound Podcast, Episode 0. My name is Rob Roy, and thanks so much for being here today with me. I wanted to take this time to tell you a little bit about myself, who I am, and why I'm starting a podcast. So my story begins in a small town in Pennsylvania, and since I can remember, I've always wanted to be a Navy pilot. I saw this movie called Top Gun when I was about 7 years old, and I thought Maverick was the man. I spent the next several years of my life taking that little dream and turning it to an actual goal, and pretty much discovered the way to become a Navy pilot. I eventually set my sights on the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, and somehow by the grace of God, a little bit of good luck and timing, I got in. And I spent the next 4 years by the bay, as they say, sorry for the rhyme, and somehow got fortunate enough to become a Navy pilot after graduation. I went on to spend the next 2.5 years of my life in flight school, and I can honestly say it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, looking at it from a bird's eye view. It challenged me beyond ways I knew were possible physically, mentally, and certainly academically. Some of the studying was just beyond me at the time, and it really took a lot of trial and error to kind of figure out how to memorize and just do better and be a better person and a better pilot. But eventually I somehow became successful and got my wings of gold through the end and went on to become a C-2 Greyhound pilot and flew that awesome, beautiful, and large airplane. We're actually the largest aircraft to land on and off aircraft carriers, and I had the fortunate pleasure of being part of an amazing squadron. And let me tell you, landing on the back of an aircraft carrier is by far one of the hardest and yet most awesome things I've ever done in my life, and taking off from the front is even better. Through it all, I truly loved flying for the Navy, and I went on deployment, and somewhere along the way, I discovered that there was something missing in my life. I didn't quite realize it until I think I was spending about 8 months overseas and not seeing the color green for a while and looking at flat scenery that I realized I was missing nature. I was missing being outside and being near mountains and streams and pretty much getting in the outdoors. It's not something that I knew was inside of me. As a little boy, I think I took it for granted, being from Pennsylvania and going on several little trips with my family, nothing too crazy, but it was always kind of nearby. And it wasn't until I removed that part of my life for several years through the Naval Academy and then flight school and then deployment, and I realized I had this huge void in my life. And suddenly I found myself becoming very passionate about the outdoors and really appreciating and respecting those that, essentially were pioneers in the environmentalist movement and protecting our natural wonders and our lands, like John Muir and Teddy Roosevelt. I spent the last couple of years really researching the National Park Service and National Forest and ways that we could get to the outdoors. I've really looked into the science and the health benefits that come from spending time outside. I've done a backpacking trip with Knowles, and it was only for about a week long, but after the third or fourth day, I realized there was something special that was happening when you don't have your phone on you continually in your pocket. You're not looking for it, not touching for it, and you are just truly able to escape and get away. It really does wonders. So that's a little bit about who I was, and then about a year ago, I had my firstborn son. My beautiful wife and I had our first child, and he entered the world not in a good place. He had an amazing, she had an amazing pregnancy, no issues or complications that we knew of. But when he was born, he had a 1 out of 10 APGAR scores. For those that you know what that is, essentially he had a heart rate, and that was it. The next week was pretty bleak in the beginning, but it just kept getting better and better each day. And by the end of the week, he was discharged from the NICU with great scores, and we've never looked back. Over the course of the last 12 plus months, we set our sights out eventually to take him to 12 national parks within his first 12 months of life, and that's exactly what we did. We did some national parks out west, and the ones here on the East Coast, just from being out west through orders with the Navy and also taking some leave and some vacation days. And then by the end, just really pushing hard to get the last couple in. But that's something I'm really proud that we did and accomplished. And I think really is gonna. I don't think he'll remember it ever, but I think it does something to him on a visceral level, and something he won't be able to quite put a finger on when he's older. But I'm really proud to share that experience with him. So that's a little bit about me and who I am and my story. And I'm starting a podcast because I've been on this journey the last couple of years to discover this new side of me, and I think other people have to do the same. I think we live in a world of technology, and here I am recording a podcast and spending time editing on software, and I'm just waiting for my chance to get outdoors next. But I really think there's something important and valuable and magical for escaping and being outside. And not only from the quietness we find ourselves on those hikes, but also doing activities that really challenge you to push yourself to the next level. Myself, I'm a big-time skydiver, and that's not for everyone, but let me tell you, when you're looking out the side of an aircraft and you jump out, it really does something to you. And I really appreciate people in that sport, and extreme mountain bikers and skiers and snowmobilers and just you name it. Anything with adventure sports, I think it's awesome to kind of at least sample that in your life to know what you're capable of. And if you can find that edge in life and get right to it and look over the other side and come out safe and just kind of pinch yourself to say, wow, I can't believe I did that. I think it's really important to living a very happy and successful life. So on this podcast, I'm going to be interviewing several people and experts that are in all these fields, whether they're just full-time van lifers, they're living in a van, or they're professional fly fishermen, or they've become an outdoor photographer and quit their job back home so they can spend more time in Mother Nature, or even if they are, a working mom or dad with a family at home, they've got a 9-to-5 job, but you know what? They just find the time on the weekends to get outdoors, and they know there's something special about making that family trip actually happen. So that's why I'm doing this podcast. I hope to connect those that we interview with the people that are listening. I hope to learn myself and also to share with you, my audience, just some of the benefits that we learn about from being outside and being in nature, getting that adrenaline fix. And overall, I am super excited to talk about living life, as I say in the intro, on your terms, living an adventurous life. And just not settling for less, not settling for what you've been told is the American dream, what you've been told you should or should not do in life. Just about, making the most of this one life we have to live and making an adventurous one. So thanks again for being here and for bearing with me these last couple minutes. It's going to be an amazing run. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I am super excited. And thanks again for your time. It's much appreciated. So I guess hats off to you, and off to our next adventure. See you around.